to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Indonesia. Hello, December.
Hello, Alma, and I'm December Paras of EBC Indonesia Bureau, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines. Cosplayers in the Philippines dress up as superheroes from Marvel to DC Comics universe and join forces to persuade children to get vaccinated.
The race to lead the Philippines kicked off Tuesday with the son and namesake of former President Ferdinand Marcos, the favorite to succeed President Rodrigo Duterte.
A Myanmar rebel group said that junta troops attacked its fighters in breach of a ceasefire, accusing the military of trying to destabilize the only region of the country that has seen no post-coup crackdown.
As the country kicked off COVID-19 vaccination for children aged 5 to 11 years old on Monday, President Rodrigo Duterte on Monday renewed his call to parents and their kids to get their jabs.
First in our news, cosplayers in the Philippines dressed up as superheroes from Marvel to DC Comics universe and joined forces to persuade children to get vaccinated as the country starts its inoculation of minors aged 5 to 11. An indoor sports arena in Manila was decorated with colorful balloons, stickers, and cartoon characters to make them feel like they are entering a children's party. Take a look.
The objective of setting this up like a birthday party is, one, to relieve our children of the stress and anxiety of having to get vaccinated. We understand that children may be scared. That is why upon entering the vaccination site, we want them to get a feel that they are entering a children's party. There are superheroes, there are mascots, there are magic shows, there's a loot bag immediately after you get vaccinated. So it's really the mindset that we are trying to mold here for them to get relaxed.
Parang kagatang po ng langgam. Umubas. Punta sa gizuna.
Now, to brighten the mood and encourage children, the sites were well decorated with balloons, colorful posters with their favorite cartoon, animated movie characters, kiddie freebies as well. There were also mascots to cheer the children up. The government aims to inoculate more than 15 million children aged 5 to 11 years old. There are 38 vaccination sites in the NCR, including 3 DOH hospitals, namely the Philippine Heart Center, National Children's Hospital, and Philippine Children's Medical Center. Vaccination sites were also set in parks such as the Manila Zoo and in malls.
Thailand's Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, has approved the use of China's Sinovac and Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccines for people aged 6 and up, broadening their children's vaccine options from Pfizer.
From Friday afternoon, when Thailand's Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, had approved the use of the Sinovac and Sinopharm vaccines for people 6 years of age and older, thus expanding the vaccine options for our children aged 5 to 11 from previously only Pfizer, using only Pfizer.
The announcement came as the Southeast Asian country has been accelerating vaccine rollout to step up protection against COVID-19. Thailand's FDA gave the green light to allow children aged 5 to 11 to receive the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine in December last year. According to online site The Thai Food and Drug Administration, or TFDA, wants children aged 3 to 17 to be able to get the vaccines. It has asked the government pharmaceutical organization for information about this.
Meanwhile, an infectious disease expert said it may still be too early to place the National Capital Region, or NCR, under a more relaxed Alert Level 1. Now, in the Laging Handa briefing yesterday, Dr. Ront Jean Solante said that Alert Level 2 must be retained, noting that it is too drastic to change to a lower alert level like Alert Level 1. Again, let's listen in.
We still need to stay in the alert level 2, no? It's too early, and I think it's too drastic to change to a lower alert level like 1, no? Tingnan muna natin in the next 2 weeks kung medyo maganda ang palo ng mga kaso natin, mas mababa na, then let's see, no? Kasi medyo mahirap kung ng alert level. Remember, no? Mataas pa rin ang mga kaso nakikita natin, mataas pa rin ang hawaan. And we need to be vigilant about these numbers na dapat hindi lang tayo diretso-diretso na magbaba agad ng alert level. We are not yet off the pandemic, no? We're still in the pandemic period. Pagtingin ng mga bakuna, especially now na meron 5 to 11 years old, huwag kalimutan ang health protocol, pagsuot ng face mask at iwasan muna ang mga gatherings, especially those gatherings na hindi naman napaka-importante, no?
Now, the government is yet to discuss and finalize in the coming days the new alert levels to be imposed in various provinces across the country starting February 16. In the case of the NCR, authorities said they will carefully study whether or not it's best to downgrade its status to the most lenient Alert Level 1.
Meanwhile, Taiwan has finally allowed the entry of Filipino and Vietnamese workers after an 8-month ban on all foreign nationals, including migrant workers, in the island due to the spike of COVID-19 cases in 2021. In an advisory posted online, the Taiwan Centers for Disease Control has announced Monday that beginning February 15, 2022, employers in Taiwan may now bring in foreign workers from the Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Thailand who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Aside from the vaccination requirement, Filipino workers need to be tested for COVID-19 at least 72 hours before their flight to Taiwan. After the RT-PCR test result, they must undergo quarantine. Upon arrival, workers are also required to complete quarantine at a hotel and management for 21 days. Ida Herodias, president of the Filipino Manpower Agencies accredited to Taiwan, or PILMAT, said the lifting of the ban is a great relief for 15,000 OFWs who are now waiting to be deployed to Taiwan anytime. Most of these OFWs are factory workers and caregivers. A factory worker in Taiwan earns about 45,420 pesos a month, while caregiver salary is 30,600 pesos.
In other news, Filipinos are counting on New York City Mayor Eric Adams to make the streets safe again by addressing homelessness and mental health issues that have contributed to the surge in anti-Asian hate violence against Filipinos and other members of the Asian American community in the past year. Now, this was personally conveyed by the New York City Commissioner for International Affairs, Edward A. Mermelstein, during a courtesy call on Consul General Elmer Cato at the Philippine Consulate General on February 3. We welcome the plans of Mayor Adams to address homelessness and mental health, as these concerns are inextricably linked to the rise in anti-Asian hate incidents in New York City, according to Consul General Cato. During the meeting, Cato said he is hoping to see a downtrend in race-based violence in the coming months based on the plans of Mayor Adams to devote more resources to the New York City Police Department and increase police visibility, especially in the subways. According to crime statistics released by the NYPD last month, anti-Asian hate incidents went up 367% from 28 incidents in 2020 to 131 in 2021. The NYPD also reported arresting 58 suspects in these incidents. Cato said at least 23 members of the Filipino community were among the victims, including a 61-year-old church worker whose face was slashed while riding the subway, a 65-year-old woman who was violently attacked while walking to church, and a 67-year-old nurse who was assaulted while distributing face masks also in the subway. For his part, Commissioner Mermelstein assured consulate officials that addressing the surge in anti-Haitian hate crimes is a top priority for Mayor Adams, a former police officer who he said has zero tolerance for race-based violence.
As the country kicked off COVID-19 vaccination for children aged 5 to 11 years old on Monday, President Rodrigo Duterte on Monday renewed his call to parents and their kids to get their jabs. He said it is important to vaccinate children, for they constitute the next generation of Filipinos. President Duterte said he has been encouraging the public to get vaccinated, warning them that the health crisis is not over yet. Let's watch this.
I said we are not over the hump. I'm warning you. Huwag kayong just don't magkumpiyansa ka. Sabihin wala na, hindi na kailangan ang bakuna. Well, when you die, pag namatay kayo at hindi kayo bakunado, well, sabihin ko sa iyo, good riddance. Ayaw ninyo, gusto mong mamatay, sige. Maglakad-lakad ka, at if you get contaminated, you will be awfully, very, very sorry for yourself and your family.
To date, the Pfizer vaccine is being used for pediatric vaccination, as it is the only jab that has received emergency use approval for kids aged 5 to 11 years old from the Philippines Food and Drug Administration. The Pfizer vaccine for children has a lower dosage and a lower concentration than those given to minor aged 12 to 17, who started receiving their jabs in October 2021. Presidential Advisor on COVID-19 Response Secretary Vince Dizon informed Duterte that 60 million Filipinos are now fully vaccinated. Meanwhile, more than 8 million booster shots have been administered.
Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA Chairman Benjamin Benhar Abalos Jr. has resigned from his post to focus on his new task as campaign manager of his good friend, presidential aspirant, and former Senator Ferdinand or Bongbong Marcos Jr. Again, let's listen in.
I respectfully tender my resignation effective the end of business hour, February 7, 2022. The campaign period is fast approaching, and I will need to devote my time to Senator Bongbong Marcos' campaign as his national campaign manager.
He also noted that the aggressive vaccination programs and the carefully crafted health and safety protocols pilot tested in Metro Manila are now being echoed in the provinces and are bringing small victories. Abalos steered the COVID-19 pandemic response of the National Capital Region. He spearheaded the vaccination of the agency's employees as well as economic frontliners, such as Philippine Basketball Association officials, cagers and workers, and those from the entertainment industry. Abalos designated incumbent MMDA General Manager Romando Artes as the agency's officer in charge pending the appointment of the next MMDA chairman by Malacanang.
The race to lead the Philippines kicked off Tuesday with the son and namesake of former President Ferdinand Marcos, the favorite to succeed President Rodrigo Duterte. Boosted by a massive social media campaign and a formidable alliance with first daughter and vice Presidential candidate Sara Duterte Marcos Jr., one of the most polarizing figures in the Philippines, has vowed to unify the country. Incumbent Vice President Leni Robredo, a former lawyer for the disadvantage and arrival of Marcos Jr. and Duterte, is distant second in voter surveys. Kicking off her pink-colored campaign in Lupi Town in the central province of Camarines Sur, Robredo told supporters she was filled with courage because you are with me. Robredo is ahead of celebrity Mayor Francisco Dumagoso, boxing superstar Manny Pacquiao, and ex-police chief Panfilo Lacson. The overwhelming presidential favorite remains Marcos, said Eurasia Group analyst Peter Mumford, giving the former senator 70% odds of winning. The Commission on Elections remain candidates of the restrictions that will be implemented for in-person campaigning, among other rules, as the 90-day campaign period for national candidates begins today. Let's watch this.
So, dahil nga po sa new normal tayo ngayon, hindi na po kagaya ng dati ang pangangampanya. Sabi nga, pag naisip ng kandidato, pwede lang din gawin. Ngayon, may mga restrictions na nga po. Gaya po ng mga in-person campaign, yung pag house-to-house po ng mga kandidato na dati naman ay regular lang yun na nangyayari. Ngayon may mga restrictions na, gaya na hindi na po maaaring pumasok ang kandidato sa mga bahay kahit po may permiso pa to ng may-ari. Bawal na rin po yung may mag-kiss po or mag-hug, handshake, or anything po na mayroong physical contact, because you need to maintain or observe po yung sinasabing minimum public health standards. So, bawal na rin po yung pag-crowding, yung lalapit po, no? Yung dudumugin po yung kandidato, lalo na po siguro kung popular yung kandidato, bawal na yon. Bawal din po ang pag-take ng selfie. At lagi naman pong bawal, of course, yung pagbibigay po ng pagkain at lumian or anything of value ngayon pong pag-campaign. So, yung pong mga kandidato na nais mag-in-person campaign or mag-hold po ng mga meeting events, rally, focuses, caravans, po yung motorcade, they need to file an application po dun sa respective pong COMELEC campaign committee. So for mga national candidates po, ang application po nila ay sa mga regional offices po ng COMELEC. For yung local, provincial level, sa provincial COMELEC offices, and then city municipalities, din po sa mga tanggapan ng city or municipal election officers. So ngayon po, meron na pong ganoon na kailangan pa po nilang mag-apply. And they need to be authorized prior po dun sa conduct ng campaign.
The COMELEC officials said the live streaming of the rallies of national candidates will also start on Tuesday. She added that they had a meeting on Monday where they briefed the candidates and their representatives on how to go about live streaming. Every day starting February 8th, there will be 3 sets of candidates per night where they will be given a chance to live stream their campaign rallies on the poll body's e-channel via https://www.facebook.com/COMELEC e-rally channel.
And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. We'll be right back.
Ang weird ng mga panaginip minsan, no?
Tapos ka na ba mag-gym?
Nakita kasi ng mga cellphone. O anong gagawin natin?
Papa, bakit galit ka na naman? Bakit may inugasan niya? Di ba sabi ko sa'yo, focus ka sa email?
Parang totoong-totoo.
Ate, yelo nga po isa.
Magbabal po kayo guys, no?
Hindi ito panaginip. Alam ko, mag-enjoy kayo sa ating Sin Zone. She had me at my worst. You had me at my best.
Huwag mo akong sisigawan. Mamaya na ako magluluto. Maglalaba muna ako.
Nagising sa katotohanan.
May tumawag, di ba?
Ba't ka nag-dive? Wala namang tubig. Funniest nakaball videos.
Abangan ang Unity Proclamation Rally ni Presidential Candidate Bongbong Marcos at Vice Presidential Candidate Sara Duterte. kasama ang kanilang senatorial slate sa Philippine Arena. Mapapanood ito ng live sa Net25 at mapapakinggan din sa Radyo Aguila, Martes, February 8 sa ganap na alas 4 ng hapon. Abangan din ang hourly updates na iatid ng ating mga reporter kaugnay ng gagawing proclamation rally.
Ang Quezon City, sarap panoorin. Sa Quezon City, balay tawag gagawin. Kaya sa Quezon City Show, sumama na lahat tayo. Sa Quezon City, sa Quezon City. Kung ika'y lonely, wala kang magawa. Walang magawa daw. Sa Quezon City, sa love trip ka matadapa. Kaya buksan ang TV nyo. Sa Quezon City na tayo. Sa Quezon City, sa Quezon City. Buong pamilya, pati ang barkada. Uya! Ang inyong aso, pati inyong mga pusa. Magsama-sama tropa nyo. Sa Quezon City na tayo. Sa Quezon City. Sa Quezon City. Okay nga eh. Yun. Okay?
Welcome back to the program. Partido Reforma Standard bearer Senator Panfilo Ping Lacson assured that they will strictly maintain health protocols during their proclamation rally in Imus, Cavite on Tuesday as the campaign period for national candidates officially kicked off. In an interview in Bombo Radio Tuesday, Lacson also assured the public that no crowding or bunching will take place in their proclamation rally at the Imus Grandstand at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, where he and running mate Senate President Vicente Tito Soto III are scheduled to face thousands of their supporters. Cavite is the second most vote-rich province in the Philippines with over 2.15 million registered voters and is considered a bailiwick of Lacson, who was born and raised in Imus City. Both he and Soto were widely successful in securing support from the Caviteños during their previous senatorial runs.
Meanwhile, Vice President and presidential aspirant Leni Robredo will start their campaigning period by visiting Naga City, followed by a mini rally in Libmanan and a grand rally today. After visiting Naga City, the Vice President will visit the Angat Buhay village in Lupi and will then head over to Libmanan for a mini rally. Robredo will also be headed to Tigawon and Iriga City. At around 5:30 this afternoon, the Leni Kiko tandem will hold a grand rally at the Plaza Quezon in Naga City along with their senatorial bets. Before today's schedule, Robredo had already started going around yesterday in the province of Camarines Sur. Meanwhile, around 25,000 people are expected to join the proclamation rally of presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos and his running mate, Vice Presidential aspirant Sara Duterte Carpio, that will be held at 4 this afternoon at the Philippine Arena. According to Marcos's camp, volunteers have been busy preparing for the event since Saturday. To comply with minimum public health standards, half of the arena's seating capacity, a total of 25,000, will only be allowed. The presidential and vice presidential tandem is expected to reveal their senatorial slate during the rally. Based on information from the Marcos camp, the slate might include Senators Sherwin Gatchalian and Mig Zubiri. The slate may also include former Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro, former DPWH Secretary Mark Villar, former Palace spokesperson Harry Roque, Congresswoman Lauren Legarda, former Senator Jinggoy Estrada, Congressman Rodante Marcoleta, former Quezon City Mayor Herbert Bautista, lawyer Larry Gadon, and former DICT Secretary Gringo Honasan.
Only 6 areas in the National Capital Region are currently placed under granular lockdown as the country continues to see a decline in coronavirus disease 2019 infections. Department of the Interior and Local Government DILG Secretary Eduardo Año said on Monday night. Speaking to President Rodrigo Duterte during his talk to the People briefing, Año said Metro Manila has the least number of areas under granular lockdown, which has reached a total of 605. Last week, the Department of Health said Metro Manila is now at moderate risk for COVID-19 from a high-risk case classification. Meanwhile, the Cordillera Administrative Region still has the most number of areas under granular lockdown with 384, followed by the Ilocos region with 132, Cagayan Valley 77, and Mimaropa 9. Meanwhile, Año said local government units or LGUs have been advised to prepare for the 3rd edition of the Bayanihan Bakunahan on February 10 and 11. He said the government aims to vaccinate 6 million individuals against COVID-19 during these days, 2 million with primary doses and 4 million with booster shots. The vaccinate more individuals, Año noted that walk-ins are allowed in vaccination centers.
Myanmar villagers and anti-coup fighters have accused troops of burning hundreds of homes in the country's restive northwest as the junta seeks to crush resistance to its rule. A woman from Bin village in the Sagaing region, which has seen recent clashes, said troops had arrived in the early hours of Monday. They shelled artillery and fired guns before coming in, she said on Friday, adding that the second had sent villagers fleeing. Troops then set fire to around 200 houses, including her own, she said, requesting anonymity. We could not bring anything with us. We took some warm clothes only and then we just ran away. State-run TV ran a report on Thursday accusing PDF fighters of starting the fires and published images it claimed showed burnt-out buildings destroyed by terrorists. Sagaing has seen regular clashes and bloody reprisals.
At least 13 people were killed and dozens more injured after a tour bus carrying factory workers to a beach holiday crashed on Indonesia's Java Island, according to police. The bus and its 47 passengers were headed from Sukoharjo in central Java to a family gathering in neighboring Yogyakarta province when the driver lost control going downhill. Witnesses were questioned said they saw the driver panicking as he tried to manage the gear stick. So there's an indication the brake was not functioning or faulty. Banful District Police Chief Ishan, who like many Indonesians uses only one name, told a media briefing. The driver was among those who died. Multiple passengers sustained head injuries and 3 toddlers were also hurt, according to the police chief. Meanwhile, Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen has backtracked on his declaration Monday that an Australian economist detained for almost a year in Myanmar had been released, hours after the junta regime denied the claim. Sean Turnell was working as an advisor to Myanmar civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi when he was detained shortly after the coup in February last year. He has been charged with violating Myanmar's official secret law and faces a maximum penalty of 14 years in prison if found guilty. On Monday morning, Hun Sen said Turnell had been released the previous day, but by the evening, he issued a retraction on Facebook saying he had received the wrong information. I would like to ask for understanding for this unintentional mistake, he said in the Facebook post. The Cambodian strongman who met with Myanmar's junta chief last month said earlier on Monday that he had passed on a request from the Australian government for Turnell's release. Hun Sen said Min Aung Hlaing responded that he would consider it positively. Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade on Monday renewed its call for Turnell's immediate release and for his rights and welfare to be upheld.
And the news continues here on Eagle News. We'll be right back.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. May lalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Abangan ang Unity Proclamation Rally ni Presidential Candidate Bongbong Marcos at Vice Presidential Candidate Sara Duterte kasama ang kanilang senatorial slate sa Philippine Arena. Mapapanood ito ng live sa Net25 at mapapakinggan din sa Radyo Aguila, Martes, February 8 sa ganap na alas 4 ng hapon. Abangan din ang hourly updates na iatid ng ating mga reporter kaugnay ng gagawing Proclamation Rally.
Morning show na always nagbibigay ng ngiti at saya sa bawat kada all over the world. Tara na't ma-inspire at ma-amaze sa kwento ng mga bawat kada na nagwagi sa anumang hamon at pagsubok ng buhay. Itago na mga remote control at tumambay lang dito sa paborito niyong barkada sa umaga, ang Kada Umaga! Dahil kayo ang bida dito.
Welcome back. A Myanmar rebel group said that junta troops attacked its fighters in breach of a ceasefire, accusing the military of trying to destabilize the only region of the country that has seen no post-coup crackdown. Days after the coup, the junta reaffirmed the commitment to a ceasefire with the Arakan Army, or AA, which has for years fought a war for autonomy for Rakhine State's ethnic Rakhine population. On Friday, junta troops entered an AA base in Mongdao Township, sparking 3 hours of clashes, according to a spokesperson for the group, adding one of its fighters had been killed. A junta spokesman said a number of border police had been killed in a mine attack on February 4, but blamed local Rohingya insurgent group for the attack. Clashes between the AA and the military in 2019 displaced more than 200,000 people across the state, one of Myanmar's poorest. Rakhine State, home to both the Rohingya and a largely Buddhist ethnic Rakhine majority, has been a tinderbox of conflict for decades. The military drove out more than 740,000 Rohingya Muslims from the state in a 2017 campaign that United Nations investigators have called genocide. Indonesia's economy returned to growth last year as surging commodity prices helped drive a recovery from a coronavirus-triggered recession, according to data showing that Monday, though officials warned the outlook depended on how well the fast-spreading Omicron variant is managed. Southeast Asia's biggest economy expanded 3.69% on year, the country's statistics agency said, having contracted in 2020 for the first time since 1998 during the region's financial crisis. The healthy rebound came largely on the back of declining coronavirus cases and robust exports, as prices for key commodities such as palm oil, coal, and nickel rose significantly, Central Statistics Bureau head Margo Yuwono told a news conference. And in an optimistic sign, the economy grew, a forecast beating 5.02% on year in the final 3 months. We hope the momentum of the economic recovery will be maintained in 2022 as long as we all agree that health protocols are critical, so daily cases will decline and mobility will get better, according to Yuwono. The country's trade surplus for 2021 reached $35.34 billion, its highest in 15 years, according to the statistics agency. Indonesia was hit hard in July as the Delta variant swept the country, forcing the government to impose tighter social distancing restrictions that hobbled businesses. Asian markets mostly rose Tuesday as investors await key U.S. inflation data later in the week, though the volatility that has characterized the year so far is expected to continue as central banks bring an end to the era of cheap cash. After a slow start to the week, the region shifted higher in early trade thanks to bargain buying and following Friday's bigger than expected surge in U.S. jobs for January, which reassured on the state of the economic recovery. But the big event is the inflation reading to be announced Thursday that is tipped to see another painful rise in prices for last month, having come in at a 4-decade high in December. The spike has forced central banks around the world to wind back the ultra-loose monetary policies put in place 2 years ago to guard against the economic impact of COVID. And while many have lifted rates already, all eyes are on the Fed's first move in March. On Tuesday, Tokyo was in positive territory, helped by news that the U.S. will ease tariffs on steel imported from Japan that were imposed by Donald Trump, while Sydney, Singapore, Seoul, Wellington, Taipei, Manila, and Jakarta were also up. But Hong Kong dropped more than 1%, with already troubled Alibaba under pressure from reports that major shareholder SoftBank was planning to offload at least a part of its huge stake in the firm. Shanghai was also down.
Meanwhile, Philippine Army or PA Commander Lieutenant General Romeo Bronner Jr. reminded troops to refrain from commenting on any political posts on social media to avoid allegations of engaging in partisan politics. Avoid posting, liking, sharing, and commenting on posts that are politically motivated, controversial, and fraudulent, he said in a statement Monday night. Bronner also reminded PA troops about their 2 solemn duties to vote and ensure orderly elections. Bronner, along with other major service commanders of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine National Police or PNP, and the Philippine Coast Guard witnessed the signing of the Joint Letter Directive JLD number 01-2022 in Camp Crame, Quezon City, which aims to ensure the safe and orderly conduct of the coming elections. The PA chief earlier reminded Army units to dismantle private armed groups as part of the service's efforts to ensure the safe and orderly conduct of the elections. Meanwhile, Department of the Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo Años said police officers and barangay officials will be deployed to monitor compliance of candidates with the Commission on Elections guidelines on election activities. This as the campaign period for national candidates officially kicked off on Tuesday, while the campaign for local candidates will begin on March 25. Meanwhile, the Indonesian government plans to expand telemedicine services accessible through isuman.kemkis.go ID for COVID-19 patients conducting self-isolation in regions outside Jakarta. Health Minister Budi Gunadi Sadikin stated here on Monday. The minister remarked that through the service, 38,000 medicines were sent to COVID-19 patients in Jakarta. To avail the service, the patients must conduct PCR tests at laboratories integrated with the ministry's new all-record or NAR system. The test result is if the test result is positive, the patient will receive a message from the ministry. In addition, people can check the result using their own identity number at the site. Patients can avail an online consultation with a doctor at one of the 17 telemedicine platforms by clicking on the provided link in the messenger site. After the consultation, the doctor will provide a digital prescription in accordance with the patient's condition. Asymptomatic patients will receive 10 tablets of multivitamin C, B, E, and zinc, while patients with mild symptoms will receive 10 tablets of multivitamin C, B, E, and zinc, 40 capsules of favipiravir, 200 milligrams, 40 tablets of molnupiravir, 200 milligrams, as well as paracetamol, 500 milligrams if necessary. President Joko Widodo had earlier urged the people exposed to the virus to utilize telemedicine services and undergo self-isolation to reduce the burden on hospitals and other facilities. Also here in the country, Indonesia's coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment Luhut Binsar Panjaitan has asked older adults aged 60 years above and older adults with comorbidities to stay put at home for 2 weeks to 1 month ahead. He deemed that preventive measure is necessary amid the increasing transmission of the Omicron variant of COVID-19. Panjaitan, who also serves as the deputy chair of the COVID-19 Handling and National Economic Recovery Committee, or KPCPN, said that the number of COVID-19 cases increased. He also reminded the community not underestimate the Omicron variant, even though the symptoms are mild and the treatment duration is short.
Thank you very much, December, for keeping me company here today on ASEAN in Focus. Keep safe over there in Indonesia.
Thank you, Alma. You too, in Manila. Hi, I'm December. I'm December Paras, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you very much, December. And we'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same place, here on ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in interesting times.
Abangan ang Unity